Welcome to Performance Mesh. I am one of your co-hosts, John O'Neill. I'm here with Eric Manis. This is episode 2 of our brand new podcast. Episode 2 reminds me of a bunch of different things, a lot of good movie sequels. Eric, what is your favorite movie sequel?
There's only probably 2 movie sequels that are better than the original. And you know what they are, right? It's Rocky 2. You can argue that Rocky 2 is probably a better movie than 1, right? And now 1 he loses, right? But it's a great story. He goes the distance. But in 2, just the overall, having a premature child, not really being able to train, and then you jump in with the champ and beat him. That takes some cojones with Rocky.
The cool thing about 2 is that he goes through a period of not having motivation. It's very, very human-like. Like the first one, he's kind of just like a robot. He
gets a little bit of money, he spends it on some nice things.
Yeah.
And then it all kind of falls to shit for Rocky.
Yeah, pretty much. It
kind of goes back to his old lifestyle.
So 2 is my favorite Rocky. Definitely.
Yeah. Now this is going to be. Let's not go too in depth with this, because this could be the podcast, right?
Oh, this is going to be a future top 5. When we have a guest on here that is a Rocky fan, we're going to go top 5 Rocky.
Yeah, we're just going to go Rocky. Maybe a panel, and The Godfather 2 is arguably better than or the same as Rocky as Godfather 1.
So I have both of those as being better than the original. Empire Strikes Back is better than Episode 4 in Star Wars. I know you're not much of a Star Wars guy, but Empire Strikes Back is the best movie in the whole series.
Okay.
Right. You've got a couple others. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, also very good.
Actually, that's probably better. Yeah.
Probably better. And then, the other one, Back to the Future 2, better than Back to the Future 1.
And I'm just thinking also the latest Batman. Not the latest one, the Christian Bale Batman series. Also 2 is better than 1.
I'm out on anything superhero, but I believe you.
Yeah, you like from what I understand, you like the really fantasy things, but if it teeters on being like possible, you're out.
I'm out. They've got to be in their own world.
Yeah, okay.
They can't put themselves in our world.
Yeah. It's got to be a completely different universe. That makes sense in that it doesn't make sense at all. But you got to do what you got to do, John.
We actually forgot a really obvious one. Terminator 2 better.
Terminator 2 is much better than Terminator 1. Yeah. These are all if they're on TBS or any like TV, like not premium cable, and they're on just regular cable, you watch those movies wherever they are.
I watched like 20 minutes of Back to the Future 2 today when I was home. On.
If it's on A&E and it's in the middle of the movie, you're watching that movie.
I'll even go as far as saying, like, even if it's on with commercials, I'll bear through the commercials, which makes no sense because you could just put it on a streaming service that has no commercials. But it's the convenience factor of having it on cable.
Yeah, and you know what? You get to flick through your phone every once in a while. Like it's not optimal. Like we're optimal guys and in our careers, but sometimes you got to be suboptimal.
What's the last movie you saw in theaters?
Oh. So it was actually in the Rocky universe. It was Creed 2. I saw it in South Orange at the movie theater there. I went alone because my wife doesn't like going to the movies. She just doesn't really like. It's a little bit uncomfortable for her, and if she has to go to the bathroom, it's stressful for her. So we don't really go to the movies as a couple. So I see Creed 2, and these 8th grade kids are talking the whole time, right? And it's really annoying. And I'm like, oh God, this is ruining my experience. This like 6'6" black guy goes up to them in the aisle and screams at them, and he says, "You're fucking with my money right now." And all of them basically like shit their pants and leave. And I was like on the guy's team. I wanted to go up to him and give him like a fist pump because he saved the day. But the first half of the movie was ruined due to that, which happens with going to the movie theaters, though.
That's a fantastic story. Yeah, I would be all for them bringing back the intermission as part of movies. You get halfway through, you get a 5-minute break. Everyone goes to the bathroom. Everyone comes back.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Maybe we can talk to somebody.
Yeah, I don't know who to contact for that. Like, I feel like, and this is actually something segue into what we're going to talk about. We're talking like some networking, career development kind of stuff today. We don't have networks in the movie industry that would allow us
No,
to propose things like this.
no, but if when we do, it's this thing's going to explode. So we don't know where our opportunity is going to go once this thing explodes.
Yeah, so let's get into the meat of the podcast here. So what do you want to talk about tonight?
So we introduced ourselves a little bit, but this is a pretty unique field, right? And it takes a special kind of person to kind of really stay in it, and for a long period of time and have success. So I just wanted to kind of get the full story, our full stories, like what attracted us into the field, kind of stops along the way, our biggest influences, and like anything that you kind of that has picked up your trajectory to where you are right now.
Cool.
Because you
So
actually have a pretty interesting story, in that you kind of were an athlete first at CSP, if I remember correctly. So why don't you
yeah,
take us
so
through that kind of like first day at CSP?
yeah, so I'll give a little bit of my backstory. So I was always like obsessed with sports and wanted to play as long as I can, etc. Got really into like working out and just doing stuff fitness wise, not necessarily training. I mean, I thought I was training, but I look back and it's like really idiotic what I was doing.
Mhm.
But probably starting when I was like 15, 16, got really into going to the gym, just working hard, getting better for next basketball season, next baseball season. Started breaking down probably because of it, just because I just beat my body into the ground with no real direction. Um, and so I had shoulder surgery when I was 17, again, about a year and a half later. That kind of derailed like being a competitive athlete or being any good as an athlete. I basically read everything I could that was on the internet at that time. And at that time, if you search baseball training, it was two things came up. It was like bodybuilding.com/baseball and then ericcressley.com. So started reading all Eric stuff in like 2010. Got obsessed with it, found out, oh, you can go up there and get an assessment, a program, take it back home with you. So I did that in summer 2011. I was 20, I had shoulder pain, at least in some capacity. I'm pretty much on like day-to-day activities for like 4 years. Just
Oh
like
God.
even post second surgery, just like little things would still bother it. I couldn't really like comfortably throw a baseball without like having some pain. Like a month into training on one of Eric's programs, my shoulder pain just like went away. And
Oh my God.
this sounds like made up, but like I haven't really had right shoulder pain since. Like if I have a shoulder that bothers me now from training, it's usually my other shoulder. But right now, right shoulder's all good. It's been good for 11 years now. And I credit that to like just having a good, solid foundational training program. If I look back at that program, which I have somewhere, I've looked at it within the last year or so, just to look for like really simple ideas. The program is like really straightforward. It's basically just like do rows well, cable press, push-ups, trap bar deadlift, front squat, like all the stuff that like we still use and it's still like really foundational. But it was basically like have a well laid out program that puts joints in good positions and don't do things that are outside that. So for me, it like removed a lot of negative inputs, I think. So I got really into it. I was already really into it, but got really into it from a doing things right or doing things well perspective after that. 2012, I interned for the Orioles in a player development role, which was more on like the front office analytics side, but got a chance to like be around the weight room, see what was going on in the weight room, every day. And I looked at that as like, maybe that's like a career that I could look into going into. Because I knew I didn't really want to be on the crunching numbers, front office type side. I didn't really see myself like enjoying that long term. But I looked at the stuff in the weight room and I was like, all right, I think I could be pretty good at that.
John's a little fun, but we're getting through.
Yeah, fighting off a little bit of a sinus infection here. Still have a little bit
Oh
of
my
cough,
God.
but hopefully been muting myself for the coughs. But um, the next year I started working for a guy named Adam Richmond at Dickinson College. He was really into training, athletic trainer. That was basically just a student worker job. And I wound up doing that like 25, 30 hours a week for my last 2 years of college. So got a lot of good exposure to different schools of thought, good schools of thought, stuff like the FMS, SFMA, just a bunch of different training ideologies as well. At the end of college, I decided, all right, like this is a field I want to go into. One, I thought it'd be enjoyable and rewarding, but two, I was like, all right, I think I could be pretty good in this. Like, I think I know enough and have a different enough background where I think I could pursue this and do pretty well in it. So, interned at Ranfone Training Systems in 2014 that summer, which at the time was just like, I emailed like 40 places, no joke, as like do you guys need any help this summer? Willing to work for free. I want to get some experience. And a lot of places had these like really buttoned up, like apply 4 months out for the internship. And if you don't have an exercise science degree, you can't go, and or we won't take you. And or just saying like, hey, we don't have internships, or just never got back to me. But I basically emailed everybody I could possibly get in touch with. So Ranfo's got back to me, a guy named Todd Bumgarner, and it turned out to be like, originally it's just like, all right, this seems like a place that probably does a pretty good job, and hopefully I get some experience. Turned out to be an awesome place. Like Ranfo's does.
I mean, that's the jackpot of emailing 40 places. That would have been number one if you had the choice right now, right?
It would be up there, yeah. I mean, they do an awesome job. Todd and Mike and Scott Trivia were the three main coaches there. Sergio Marino as well, but learned a lot from those guys. Interned full time that summer, moved up there, kind of took a shot at myself. Looking back, knowing what I know now about like intern development, I don't think I was like a great intern at all. I think I was just a kid who kept showing up and like would work. I wasn't a very effective coach. I was like not used to talking to, people of all ages and working with adults and working with like younger females. And I feel like I was probably pretty good with like the older teenage baseball player because that's who I was used to talking to. But it gave me like a lot of opportunity to be uncomfortable coaching people I wasn't used to talking to in the first place. And then from there, interned at CSP Florida. After that, I felt like my Ranfone internship set me up to be like a very successful intern at CSP. Like, I don't think I was the best intern, but I think I was able to go in there and be like, oh, I know exactly what I should be doing here. And so that helped me. I went into like jobs I've worked since then in the last episode, but those experiences, Dickinson, student athletic training job, Ranfones, and CSP set me up for like a lot of potential job opportunities down the road. And that was basically like, obviously the student worker job when I was in school, but like 8 months unpaid of like, all right, I'm going to bet on myself and try to make this work. Cause I knew I kind of had one shot at it from a standpoint of like, all right, like I don't want to go to the internship and not do well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you worked for free for a long period of time, right? Like when I had met you, you had just come off your CSP Florida internship and right before Ranfone, right? So you had a lot of unpaid experience, but like looking back, like that probably gave you your foundation for everything, right?
Yeah, totally. And like my job in college allowed me to afford those and pay for those. And looking back, like I would advise like any young coach to be like, hey, like if this is what you want to do, like put both feet forward. A lot of people I feel like put one foot in and be like, all right, I'll try this intern thing and see how it goes. And versus being like, all right, I want to go there and I want to be the best I can possibly be. And because I want to earn myself the best in-house intern, or I want to earn myself like the reputation of being like the next man up for a hire or whatever it is, or the next man up for a job recommendation. And so you have to bring some kind of competitive element to your own career when it comes to like trying to do something like that. Because otherwise, like, yeah, you can spend like interning at that point probably costs like $4 or $5 grand a semester from a standpoint of like living and whatnot. It's probably a little bit more now, but like otherwise you're just kind of just tossing that money towards you could just sit at home, and spend that money on like other education. But
Yeah.
if you're just trying to learn stuff, but you're trying to like put yourself forward as like, all right, I want to make sure that my name and my resume and my network is as good as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's. I mean, I would probably say I did a little bit of the opposite of you. So I started. So my dad coached at our high school. So when I was from, he coached for about 20 years. He started coaching when I was about 9 years old. And my way out of the house, like in the summer, my mom would just like, you got to take him. So I would like go to like the lifts, and it was like there was like a ton of kids, and it's like a pretty typical high school weight room. But like I'd do some of the stuff, and I'd like jump on the machines, and I think it's pretty funny, but like so my dad, like being a coach, I think had like a big influence on me at like doing what I do now. But a funny story is like my dad's like a little bit crazy, and he my brother was really into professional wrestling as a kid, and I like remember him vividly saying, and my brother would say to me too, that he trained Hulk Hogan. So like he was the guy who taught Hulk Hogan like everything that he knew. I was like, oh my God, my dad trained Hulk Hogan. Like that's amazing. So like this was probably like I probably didn't really have a choice of what career I was going to choose, right? Like if my dad was the guy who trained Hulk Hogan, like I had to go be a personal trainer or like a strength coach somewhere, right? So I feel like that had a little bit of influence to the get go. So, but I was
how
like,
old were you when you found out that he didn't train Hulk Hogan?
I still don't know if he did or did not. Like it could be like I assume he didn't, but I've never heard that he didn't from his mouth. So it's kind of like a Santa Claus thing. Like some people just like gradually figure out there's no Santa Claus, but like you never actually know. so so I kind of entered the weight room, and I was like pretty strong like in the weight room. So I was like, oh cool, like I'm good at this. So I like you, I like kind of just put as much stuff in the internet and like went on like the bodybuilding.com stuff. And my like mom would always get me like muscle fitness and stuff like that. And my first client was my brother. So he was like, I think he was like 22 and wanted to get in shape. And I was like probably like 15. So we went to like the local Y, and we did chest for like 2 hours. And that was the only session we ever had until like years later, because we did probably like 30 sets of chest. Like the guy, like my brother was like debilitatingly sore the next day. Like he was just, because we did like every angle, like every like flies, bench, incline, decline. You have to do all that stuff, and then you hit flies, all the same thing. And this guy, he was just wrecked. So then I lost my first client like immediately, right? So then we're pretty close. I grew up in northern New Jersey, and a couple of kids started going to this guy who's a big name in the industry, Joe DeFranco. So I was like, oh, that's cool. So they were traveling like 45 minutes, and these kids were like really strong, and like they're the best players. So I like found that Joe DeFranco had like a website. So I like remember vividly going on DeFranco'straining.com and like spending like 2 hours reading this guy's articles. And I was like, well, this is cool. Like this guy has like every single big time football player in the area is going to train with these guys, and they look like they're doing these unbelievable things. So I spent a lot of time, and that was when I first like got introduced to like good training, right? So then I remember he had a link to elitefitness.com. And I was like, what is this? Like, and the old Elite Fitness in like 2005, 2006, 2007 was like unbelievable information, right? Like he had like Buddy Morris and James Smith, and all these guys were just posting stuff for free. So like a lot of my free time was just reading the stuff that was like, in actuality, it was like way over my head. Like I shouldn't have been reading these things. Like it was just way too complicated. But I like tried to like implement in like my own training. So that's when I like started to message people and get it all over the place. So then I started training people in the summer. Like kids would in college would like come to our gym, and I was in charge of the crew, and I was like writing for these programs. I would like tell them everybody what to do, and it was like really fun because we had like probably like 6 or 7 guys just like working really hard. We'd always finish with like pushing a car or like doing just like fun stuff that is like moronic, but like you're just killing it when you're doing that kind of stuff, right? So then I needed to get an internship, and so I'm on YouTube, just like kind of doing what I do, just like looking for training stuff, and I see a kid that I remember that my dad coached, this guy Mickey Bruckner, and he had a full like YouTube video with this guy he trained on the Jets, James Hediba. So I emailed him and I kind of did an internship with him, and it was like kind of on like it wasn't as structured. Like I think I was the first intern in Annex history, but I would show up for like kind of a month, and it was it's all unpaid. So I was trained some kids on the side from our local high school, and they were giving me like $20 a session. And I actually think that was the best results I've ever had with a client. It was when I was like just like 22, 23, and like the kids were like wrestlers, so they can do a lot of stuff. So we did like a ton of calisthenics and jump rope and really simple strength training that like people should be doing when they start. And I feel like you kind of you like get a little bit too smart for your own good. Like when you're a little bit in your career, you forget like the stuff that actually works. I feel like you like go ups and downs of like playing PT and going to all these courses, and when in actuality there's like a very set amount of things that work, right? So next summer I started working at Annex, and Annex is a great place, but like there's not really like a structured learning, and I knew I was a little bit behind on that stuff. So I just, like, you spent that amount of money on your internship, I probably spent a lot more just going to every single course possible, like traveling the United States. Like I remember one year I went to Arizona, Seattle, and Indianapolis back months. So like whatever that costs, like, and these were like, one of the things was like a week long. So like whatever that costs in the field, right? So that's kind of how I've had to like level up, is just buying everything and traveling to everything I could think of to like gain as much knowledge as, because I do, one of the things I do regret is not going to like a bigger facility and trying to learn that system. I was kind of always just piecing together what I should have been doing at that time.
Well, that's something like you mentioned, like traveling all over, going to all different courses. Like that bubble's kind of burst on the field, unfortunately. Like there's not.
Yeah, they don't have those courses anymore, man.
No, like there's not a ton to go to. Like I would love to have like a staple course I go to every year. It doesn't really exist anymore. Like there's the whole new thing is like online mentorships, which just like aren't really the same at all. Think about like the people we know in the field, or the people that I'm friends with in the field. A lot of them were just like met at these courses, right? And like I couldn't tell you exactly what my takeaway from some of the courses is, but I know like, oh, they were there. I remember talking to them. I like later used, and a lot of like the magic of those courses wasn't like, oh, you have stuff to use on Monday. It's like a year later when you go to do something, you're like, oh, this is, I kind of remember him talking about this.
Yeah, and you like go through the slides like a couple more times and see how you can pick what you can use.
Totally, yeah. Let's get back to some training stuff, but I wanna mix in one of my favorite upcoming elements of this podcast.
All right, let's hear it, John.
All right, so I'm a big fan of lists and ranking things. Okay, this is inspired by our hero Don LaGreca, the Michael K Show. He had during COVID. When sports were shut down, he had like top fives every day, and it was like what I look forward to at like 4:30 in the afternoon every day. It's like, all right, I can't wait to hear what they're going to debate. So if you are a Sopranos, or if you're not a Sopranos fan and want to watch the show, just fast forward a few minutes, because we're gonna give away a lot of spoilers in the Sopranos over the next few minutes. But Eric and I are both huge Sopranos fans. I've watched.
You think, now let me ask you a question. Do you think anybody in the field has watched The Sopranos more than we have?
I have a tough time believing that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably over 10.
Yeah, I'm not quite. I was thinking about it before while I was making this list. I'm at like probably 7 or 8 watches of every episode, and I'm like,
nobody has, and nobody has listened to every single episode of a Sopranos podcast too.
No, I read the book as well. The book was great.
Yeah, I have the book. So like, as far as like people might be better trainers, but I don't think that anybody could have this.
Yeah, I think there's better combos of coaches in the field than you and I, but I don't think there's better combos of strength coaches with Sopranos knowledge than us.
No doubt.
There's
no doubt about it.
All right, so
and again, everybody knows where I live from the previous episode. If they want to take claim to that, they know where I live.
All right, so what we're gonna do, I thought about doing something like top 5, some of the Sopranos, but we're gonna get very specific with the top 5 on the Sopranos. Okay.
Wow.
I want you to guess my top 5 favorite murders that happened on the Sopranos.
Oh my God.
Top 5 favorite. Okay. Murders. So this is not. It's a combo of element of surprise, a combo of like impact on the show, how dramatic it was, how cool it was, the way they did it. It's a combo. There's
it's not deaths though. It's just murders.
It's just murders. Okay, so like for example, when like Tony's mom dies, season 3, episode 3 doesn't count.
Okay.
Doesn't count.
Okay. So number 1 has to be Tony killing Christopher.
You know what? You're gonna hate this. It doesn't make my top 5.
Really?
Yeah.
So because let me ask you, one character killing one of maybe the third most important character.
Yeah, because you saw that coming for seasons. Like he wanted to kill him for multiple seasons, and he finally got his chance. And he did it. And it was a chance that he could get away with it without making it look like a murder, and you could see it coming. You could see it coming even as early as like mid-season 4, Tony was thinking about killing Christopher.
Wow.
And he doesn't kill him until like season 6B, episode 6. Kennedy, great episode.
In the words of Carton. All right.
Hey.
Okay. I got to think about this then. I thought.
Yeah, it's not. So Christopher did not make my top 5. I've got 5.
How about Tony B killing what's his name's brother?
Billy Leotardo does not make my top 5.
Oh my God. Really?
Huge impact on the show in terms of what happens in later stuff, but nobody cared about Billy Leotardo. That was a meaningless murder at the time.
You don't think you don't think that started major beef?
Oh, it started major beef, but the excitement of seeing that murder was relatively meaningless.
Okay, I think I got one. Tony killing Ralphie.
It's my number 6.
Oh my God. I'm striking out right now.
It's my number 6. I strongly debated 4, 5, and 6. That almost made number 4 for me. Okay. That almost made number 4, but I knocked it down to 6 in favor of styles of execution that I enjoyed watching more. Because again,
that's a line. That's a line.
It's the same
styles of execution.
It's the same it's the same lack of drama that the Christopher murder has. The first opportunity he gets, he's gonna kill Ralphie. For over a season. That was building for over a season.
I'm running dry right here, John.
Oh, come on. You're gonna be able to get at least 3 of these.
How about when they kill Vito?
You don't actually see it happen.
Okay, so that
doesn't count. You don't actually
the styles of execution.
So I will say one of these people you don't actually see it happen, but he/she died.
Okay. How about Phil Leotardo getting plugged within the
I thought about it, but the fact that it happened in the last episode of the last season was like, all right, they're obviously going to kill one of these guys. This is like, you could see this coming. My number 1, I did not see coming at all.
All right, you have to give me number 1, so because I'm like grasping at straws.
I'll give you number 5. We'll start there. Okay. Number 5, Frederick Peters, Febby Petrulio, season 1, episode 6, college. Okay. Tony chokes the guy with a wire.
And that was a big episode in television history because That was the first time that the main character had murdered
So
somebody.
that was a big deal. Like, all right, this guy Tony, like, he seems like a nice family man. He's a murderer.
Yeah, he's a murderer, and you know, as they say on our favorite podcast, these guys are murderers.
They built him up for like 5 episodes as like, oh, maybe he's one of the better ones, and then he kills the guy while his daughter's visiting college.
Yeah, that. How about Mikey Palmici?
Thought about it, didn't quite make it.
Really? So I'm looking at. Okay, I got one. This has to be number one.
Yeah.
You actually. Yeah, this has to be number. Richie Aprile
Richie Aprile is number one, no doubt. Most surprising.
Yeah, yeah. How about afterwards when he's when he's talking about what they did with the body, and Janice is like romanticizing him and like talking about how like, oh, did you like throw his ashes over a hill or something like that?
Yeah, you buried him up on a hill. Yeah. Yeah.
That's an all-time psycho move. Okay.
That's the number one. Very surprising. You thought he was going to be a villain around for a while. You didn't think Janice had it in her.
Okay. How about Tony B getting shot?
Tony B, never loved the character.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to kill somebody he loves, though. You know.
I felt like Steve Buscemi like didn't feel like as much of a like North Jersey, New York area Italian mobster as the rest of the guys. I felt like he didn't feel authentic.
Okay. How about Big Pussy getting
that's my number 3. It almost made number 2. I decided to put number 2 ahead of this, but that's my number 3. Really sad to see Sal Bump and Sierra go on the boat. I believe that episode is called Funhouse. Episode 13, season 2. That's a great one.
Yeah, the episode starts out with food poisoning, and and what's the chef's name?
Artie Bucco.
Artie Bucco says they cook it in ghee. That's clarified butter. He goes, no.
All right.
It was the shellfish.
We're down to number 2 and number 4. You want me to give them away?
I just got one. Adriana Lacerva.
It's got to be Adriana Lacerva at number 2. I actually didn't think they were going to kill her.
Yeah, you know, that she's the one character in The Sopranos that you actually have empathy for, because she is just sucked in because she loves Christopher, but she's not a bad person. I mean, she does bad things, but she is a good person.
Yeah,
she's just in this criminal world.
She's a much better person than most of them.
Oh yeah, yes, and she just got sucked in.
My number 4 is kind of random, but it has to do with the way it goes down.
Okay.
It's Matthew Bevilacqua, end of late season 2. They have him tied up in like a shack somewhere, and Tony asks Tony asks him, hey Matt, you want anything to drink? And he says, oh yeah, I'll take a Diet Coke. And he goes, you sure? You want something sugar free? Because this is gonna be the last thing you ever drink. Then he shoots him.
And he clips him.
Yeah.
And he looks at Pussy to make sure he's shooting him too, because he has a hunch.
Yep. So that's my number 4. That's my favorite. If that were a bigger character, that might be my 1, because I love that whole scene. But it's a nobody character.
Yeah. So is there anything left? Let me get a recap.
Okay. So number 5, Fabio Petrulio, murdered by Tony. Number 4, Matthew Bevilacqua, murdered by Tony and Big Pussy. Number 3, Big Pussy himself, Sal Bonfacero, murdered by Tony, Paulie, and Silvio. Number 2 is Adriana, murdered by Silvio, and number 1 is Richie, murdered by Janice.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, I think Christopher getting killed should be in there. But I can't disagree.
There's so many good ones. That could be a top 10. That could easily be a top 10.
I mean, I was surprised at a couple of ones that I said.
Brendan Fallone, I thought about that.
Yeah, that's early.
Yeah.
Brendan Fallone gets shot right in the eye.
Yep. All right, we only got a couple minutes left here, but let's get back to a little training stuff. So we talked about like our backgrounds getting into it. what would be like your 60-second version on advice for like young coaches trying to get into it?
I think you got to get a really good internship. And I really only think, I mean, from my understanding, the guys that I have seen had the most success did the double, what I like to call the double, and that's the CSP IFAST internship. It's just so, I mean, not a lot of places have an organized week by week curriculum. I think IFAST probably, I don't know how much you address this in your internship, but really pushes the soft skills. Like they make you say hello to everybody as soon as you walk in, and like ask, develop relationships with people. All the people I know who have done that internship are just like studs, and they obviously have developed in the hard sciences as well, but their soft skills are fantastic. And I think you just have to when I'm talking to strength coaches, I think that we as a field have wanted to be PTs, and done a lot of like courses that they just have no business in. And I think you really got to stay pretty narrow to start and develop those kind of foundational skills.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think addition, like obviously I'm biased. We run an internship program that I oversee up here in Massachusetts. I obviously like to think we do a good job on that front. I will say there's some of like the biggest difference between like successful and not as successful, or interns who don't do as good a job or don't get as much out of it, is they don't really live it. So what I mean by that is like, if you're gonna do it, like do it right. That's kind of like anything in life, but don't be like, oh, I'm interning here, I'll just show up, punch the clock, go home, not put in any extra time into it. Like, no, you should like try to get better every single day you're there. And so if you take a 90 or 120 day period and you try to get better every single day for 120 straight days and learn something related to the field and get better at your own coaching skills and challenge yourself and to train hard in your own training and care about it and try to live a life that you eventually want to live with an income or with a good income, you're gonna get a lot better. Where it's the ones that are like, all right, it's not school where you just, if you show up and you get the degree, that's what matters. It's like, no, like there's a lot of subjectivity towards doing well in this field. So go all in on it. Whatever it is, interning, like the places you mentioned, there's other places, Boyles, Ranphones. I'm sure there's a lot of small gyms that we don't know about that run pretty good internship programs, but show up and do as much as you can while you're there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, we really beat it up here today, Johnny.
Hey, this is a good one. Nice and quick. 20, probably about 30 minutes. Summary of the podcast here. We talked movie sequels. We talked career development. We talked murders on The Sopranos. And that's what you're going to get every week. Yeah, you're going to bring that level. We're going to bring that level every single midweek. We're going to get just a little bit of format. We're just going to, me and Johnny, we're going to chalk it up like we're on the phone, bullshitting midweek, and then we'll have a guest every single week that we want to talk to. So yeah, we got want to listen to it. Doug Cheejan coming up, and it's gonna sound like a conversation that might happen at a bar. Some training. We'll hit him with the top 5, try to get him guessing on them. We do want to talk about Doug's diet a lot. That's going to be a hot topic on the podcast. I'm going to love every second of that. 2 psychos. Hey, that's the preview. That's what you got to look forward to. So, good luck. 2 psychopaths. Good luck. Rest up, and we'll talk soon. I'm going to need the rest after this one.